Okay.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of Coaching the Champion Athlete. I'm joined here by Christian Woodford and his father Jeff Woodford, and they're from Woodford Sports Science Consulting. Welcome.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you for having me. I just want to tell everyone before we start, my old man, we all know he doesn't like the limelight, but he's the backbone of Woodford. So I thought I'd keep him on for about 3 minutes until he annoys the shit out of me.
Let's make it a minute.
We'll make it a minute, then we'll piss him off. So, Brandon, if you've got any questions early on for Jeff, ask away. He's the CFO. He's the backbone of the company. If there's anything you want to know. He also doubles as the bank of Woodford. And if we didn't have him, we'd be in a fair bit of trouble. So, if you've got any questions for him, ask away now.
So we'll start then and going, okay, well, in the beginning of your journey, Jeff, how was the basically transition to help Christian build up? How did he initially start that growth?
Well, he actually started in a what was it called?
Boot Camps Australia, subleasing.
So yeah, I got excited there because he seemed to be doing it all, and from there he wanted to get his own gym, and we just looked around, found a gym. I arranged the finance, etc., and off we went.
And Dad kind of got involved after we all, as I said to you.
Oh, that's right. Everything was manual.
It was all manual.
Christian at the start, so we needed an electronic diary, and we found one which was suitable at the time. Then we've graduated to a more sophisticated model booking system.
We and also, Brandon, as I said before, I'm terrible with media, social media.
Social media, good.
I'm good at social media. The back end. If you own a facility, so if you're a young kid, you want to own a facility. Like you, Brandon, you told me you like training junior athletes. I think that's fantastic, and I'll talk more on what we're doing about that later. But I'm trying not to take over this podcast. It's Brandon's podcast, so I'm used to doing it. But without Jeff, I think without my dad, I think the company would be in so much trouble. I'd be broke. I'd be under a bridge right now. I think Dad saved me 1,000 times. But you know what? It's all a learning curve for me. I had no business experience, and Dad's come on. He's the level head. In business, you can't be emotional, and I'm the emotional person in the world. So he's been fantastic to have on my side and on our company. I think he does a great job. And even now, when I came in here, Brandon, before I saw you, he was working away, doing all the reports, what he had to do. So if you are thinking about owning a facility, you cannot
get your old man involved.
But you need a back end to it. If you don't have a back end, Brandon, you're in a fair bit of trouble. So I think he's been fantastic for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, I really think that what you've done here is you've built a massive platform and a massive foundation of really exposing, in terms of what S&C is all about, what sports science is all about, developing athletes. It's not just personal trainers anymore. And I really feel like PTs want to really do all this now. So they're like, oh, I've done my diploma, I've done my certificates. Now I need to go get a uni degree, I need to go do that further study, that further experience, because effectively, like, a lot of these guys want to go get elite sport jobs and they want to all, be developing athletes, but they need that kind of education background, which I really feel that's lacking here, is that education background.
Which I think is fantastic, because I've always said knowledge is power. So I kind of thought if I could sell S&C in terms of a way that we expose it to everyone, not just the pro athlete deserves it, but everyone from the ages of, in my opinion, and we're doing it with our junior program, from the ages of 7 to 8, some sort of structured movement quality program where there's some emphasis on athlete development. Why the fuck we're still, sorry about my language, why we're still doing, when I played football as a kid, the way we used to prepare our football, not your football, Brandon.
Yep.
Sandor, if you're listening, not your football, Sandor, our football or soccer, AFL, Aussie rules. We were stuck, when I was a kid, we used to do these 2 long, slow, like 2 laps and then started stretching before football. Or the best way we could prepare would be running like an endurance runner. When football is a high-intensity, intermittent sport, you need strength, you need power, you need repeat effort ability. You need all these factors to make to improve athlete performance but reduce chance of injury. And I feel like that Australian athletes were falling short of their athlete development. So when I came back from 5 years ago, when I started Woodford, and I came back from the USA, I said, fuck, someone just needs to promote this. Someone needs to go out with a bit of passion and say, fuck, this is how we do it. But all I was seeing was either strength sport athletes or personal trainers running the show. I said, fuck, enough's enough. I've done 4 years of undergrad plus my honours. I said, I'm going to lead the charge. If you like it, you do. If you don't like it, I don't care. And here we are, Brandon. And here
we are, mate.
So I've got a career off it, and Dad's got a career, and we're just building towards something special. I truly believe that this, and I saw your podcast with Brett Bartholomew last week, who's fantastic in the States. The Australian industry will blow up in 5 years. I've always said to my old man, everything I've come true with what I've said was, I said the Australian market needed this. I said it was waiting for someone to come along and do it. I said I would do it. I took the responsibility. I did do it. And I think the market will blow up in 5 years. What I mean blow up, I mean there'll be two markets. There'll be the fitness industry for general. I think there'll always be, there's a massive market always be there. But then there'll be what I promised. And if you look back at my podcast from 5 years ago, I said there'll be a private performance market for athletes. Think about how many junior athletes, think of how many amateur athletes who want to go to sub-league or sub-league to elite. There is a market for it. What about mid-10 stage rehab? There's always been a market for it. I said from day one, 5 years will blow up. Mark my words right now. Do you want to leave now? Or because I could carry. Have you heard this enough? Or
It's in the,
we'll swap. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, guys.
So I think that Brandon, I think that I said it 5 years ago, it'd blow up, and it did. And it's growing and growing. And I'll give you an example is 5 years ago there was no performance centers. There was just CrossFit boxes or general commercial gyms. Now, I'm not saying I was the first one to do it. That's bullshit, because I want to give respect to all the guys before me who paved the way, who really worked their way in terms of the private sector. There was a few. I'm not going to name them all, but they know who they are. But what I think I did was I exposed it on a larger scale through social media, and I knew that I could do that through using that kind of like that, what you call shuttle for me into a wider general population, educating the masses. So
I think social proof, that social proof that this is what athletes do, like should be doing.
You know what's funny? And the minute you do that, Brandon, you expose people. People start going, fuck, why am I training that way? Why am I not training this way? This is more efficient. And brother, I started this off my own Facebook. Like, I remember I used to put up a post, and if you look back to my early day posts, and what I used to do is I used to do a scientific reason, an actual scientific justification. So a bit of theory, a bit of application, and then I put it up, and then people were loving it, because people were like, well, I'm a football athlete, and all I've seen so far is a CrossFitter lifting heavy or doing Olympic lifting, but that's a skill within itself. That's a sport. How can I do this movement to make me jumper, run quick, or become better at my sport? And that's what people want to know. And I think people gravitate towards what I was doing, because I said it with such conviction and love and passion. And no one was really, back at that stage, no one was really doing it with a bit of passion. I kind of thought, fuck, here I am, done a 4-year degree. I've done so much free work experience you can poke a stick at. There's no outcomes or jobs for someone who's passionate. Why am I doing this? Like, why? We're educated, Hayden. We're good enough. Why the fuck can physios do a degree and they get a job after? An accountant, like my old man, bookkeeper, they do accounting, they get a job, or nursing. You see what I mean? Why the hell exercise science don't get a job yet? All these personal trainers, nothing bad against it, because I think what they do is fantastic if they do it right.
Yeah.
Why is it that when we do a degree, yet we're educated, we can't get fucking work? Enough's enough. So it was like knowledge, education, and pushing it to the masses. And look where we are. Look what happened. 5 years in the game. And we're here and you're here, so I think it's fantastic. And before I go on, I want to thank you for allowing me to be on this podcast. I think it's always great when people want to hear me talk shit. So I think old man turned it all his life. So thank you for allowing me to have it, and I appreciate it. Sorry, I try not to take over, mate, because I'm so happy on my own thing. So
that's fine. Like, we're interviewing you today, mate. Like you're the guest star. So one of the things that I've even, like, when I was at university, I was looking at it, and obviously you've been around for 5 years. So I found you out pretty early when I was still studying, and I wanted to be in that kind of sports sector. I knew that was my passion, athlete development, because I was a sports athlete. That's who I was. And
well, you're right. You're quick, man. You're quick. You're only going to get quicker.
Yeah. So like, and I looked at it even from now today at a completely different perspective in regards to grassroots sports programs. Now, I looked at it from a completely one. I looked at it and going, well, if you look at today's grassroots sports, it's exactly like you said, 2 laps, maybe a really inefficient warm-up, an inefficient kind of activation routine, and then going straight into their training session. And then afterwards, there's no cool-down stretching for a lot of these junior kids. So I was like, my goal was, if I can actually start producing junior athlete development programs within grassroots sports clubs where they're at a standard of sports science, standard of proper protocol, then with strength, speed work, technique work, a lot of these motor unit control and everything that we're looking at here, then you can expose a lot more in regards to, 500 kids per club. you'll be able to create a development program where parents know that they want to get their kids to that club because they're going to get the development that they need to then go to the next level. It's kind of how we're looking at it.
I think that's a fantastic point to make, but also the other point you want to make is if you hit them at the grassroots level, think about for the rest of their career how much they're going to reach their athletic potential. But moreover, the most important thing for me is injury reduction.
Exactly.
Okay, because we can't fully prevent all injuries because we know that, but we can reduce the chance of injury through proper physical preparation, recovery means, warm-ups, etc., etc., etc. So I think that if you can reach them at the grassroots level, you can expose them to what high performance really is, other than the traditional, hey, I'm a father back in the 1980s, I did this, that makes it right, so I'm going to educate the kids to do that. It's going to be completely fucking wrong. I'm a know-it-all. I don't know jack shit, which is always funny because I have a good laugh because when the parents come down, you know, some of them did play football at a high level and they think, oh, back in my day, I used to do this. I'm like, well, do you know what, mate? I'm not disrespecting what you did, but at the same time I am, because shut the fuck up, because that was the 1980s. This is 2000s now. We're past that. Sports science has developed. Let's start educating your kids so we can give them the best chance of performing at a high level repeatedly. So I think, Hayden, I think that's fantastic. Hitting them at the grassroots level, educate them. But I've always said, you think about amateur-based sport in Australia. How many amateur-based sporting clubs? Oh, hello, Jeff. How many amateur-based sporting clubs have a physio? Every single one.
Everyone.
Why don't they have a strength and conditioning coach? I'll give you an example. Having a physio is fantastic. I respect physios. I've got physio friends. You need it for diagnosis, early stage treatment, okay? But don't you think that's being reactive? Wouldn't we be proactive and get an S&C coach? Exactly. Moreover, not only is it going to prevent injuries, it's going to they're going to make them perform better at a higher level. But we're not respected enough because people think we're just like a dime a dozen, and we get disrespected consistently because of that. Now, if you go to America, the S&C coach is respected. Why? It's because they get buy-in, because their mainstream sport, it has such an emphasis on strength, power, speed, i.e. athlete development, where in Australia, football, AFL, is seen as endurance-based sport. Now, we know that's wrong because we're educated.
Yep.
But this is where we need to educate the masses, and hence why social media is such an important medium to get our message out. But I think if you're a young kid out there, I think what Hayden was talking about in the private sector, it will boom, guys. And let's educate, go to your club, talk to your amateur-based sporting team, talk to the junior club, talk about the importance of athletic development, talk about injury reduction programs, talk about what we need to be doing. So I think, Hayden, the fact that you're even doing that, mate.
Brandon.
Brandon, Hayden.
That's okay, Christian. You're all good, mate. You're all good.
I think if you Brayden, fuck, I've lost the plot here. If you're talking, I get so passionate, I forget. If you're talking about grassroots level, I think it's fantastic. You are on the right track. We're trying to be doing it, but I'll tell you one thing you will hit is roadblocks. That's fine, because you need to educate, because there'll always be people who are stuck in the mud and they don't want to change. That's the way they've done it. And I run this club and this, that, and I don't want you doing that. And fuck it. It's going to happen, mate. Either it's going to happen now, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but it will happen. So you're either going to be stuck in the mud, or you can be a proactive thinker. If you're on the board of a place, we get contacted by a lot of junior sporting teams. Be proactive, be the leader. Don't do what you've previously done, because trust me, it don't work no more.
Exactly, yeah. And I've looked at it, and what I did was this year, and the whole thing when I started my business in athlete development for junior athletes, and I went to a grassroots sports club local, and I just completely volunteered for the whole season, and I just went, you know what, and I went through there, and then after this year, now I'm on their whole committee as their high performance coach. I've got a full development program that I've implemented. They all speak highly of me in the community, which is great. You know, like I know, and you even did the same thing when you went over to the States. You know, you sacrificed the time, the money, you put it all in there, and then all of a sudden,
hey, what's your company called?
Brandon Jones Performance.
Brandon Jones Performance. I'll have a look into it, my friend.
Yeah.
You got Facebook, obviously.
Yeah, I do. So Facebook, Instagram. So I have both of them. So now it's all the stuff that I put on there is just junior athletes doing movements. You know, like for example, I had a 15-year-old kid that's contracted for the Eels, and you know he's doing pull-ups 3 RM with 30 kilos in between his legs, and I'm like, this kid's just a machine. Like, he's an absolute machine. But it's great to see those kids that have the potential to do it. You know, that have that natural kind of genetic strength to lift those weights, that have that explosiveness, you know. And then you're looking at kind of genetic types as well, like your fast twitch versus your slow twitch, and how can we start utilizing that in our training. And Like, I get a thrill out of training these kids because they just, everything that you kind of teach them, when they grasp it and you see them use it in the game, like, that's the most rewarding thing for me. I would rather that over the elite sector any day.
I think that, yeah, that's a good point. Number one, I think the point that you said was correct, was when you love to see what they can do physically and how you can make an impact and see the transference to sport, number one. But number two, I think, and I talk this a lot about the interns that come through or through our workshops, you're going to get more benefit out of a junior athlete than you do an elite athlete, because at the elite sec, they've kind of already been through that, or they've got their own preconceived ideas what physical preparation is. You can make a real big impact on a junior athlete's career and to do it properly than you do at the pro sector. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of exercise science students just kind of say it is because they want to wear that AFL logo, that NRL logo, that, you know, they just want to say it to their friends. It's like, it's not a real, I'll be like, not everyone, but I think it's like a big thing, an ego thing a little bit. Correct. And I know people sitting back going, oh, fucking heck, can this guy talk about egos, egotistical, blah, blah. Yeah, but the thing for me is I actually give a shit. If you watch my things, I care about my athletes. I do care. Everyone, regardless, I don't care who you are. Everyone's got a little bit of ego about them. That's fine. I got no issue with that. But be honest about yourself. Why is the reason? Ask yourself questions. Like, I ask all my interns, they say, I want to work in pro sport. That's well. Why do you want to work in pro sport? Is it because what the uni's told you? Or is it because you just want to wear this little logo to say, hey, I work with this dude? Like, who gives a shit? Like, exactly. I work with weekend warriors, amateur, semi-pro, pro, all the way up. But I pretty much get more off working off the amateur athlete because they've got more room for improvement and you can make more, and all the junior athlete, exactly what you said. So I think that you just need to ask yourself, I'm not saying don't do it, but ask yourself why you're doing it. Be critical. Don't just follow the sheep and just be like, oh, I'm doing it because fucking I want to work in pro sport. I'm not saying anything bad about pro sport, but for me, my passion was the private sector. I wanted to change the game. I wanted to be the man who changed the whole industry. That's what I wanted in Australia. And that's why I did that. So find out your why, find out the reason why you want to do it, and then just work your ass off to do it. Regardless if it's private sector or pro sport, figure out the reasons why you want to do it.
And this is why, you know, I think we're aligning very well here is I've got that vision to bridge the gap, just like much like you know, and it's that bridge the gap between elite sport and grassroots sports. That's my goal. You know, I feel like there's no pathway at the moment where junior kids can get the opportunity to see it. They can't see the pathway at the moment. They can't, because there's no visible one there going, okay, when you get to 16 and, you know, or 18 and you're meant to go into the draft for AFL, you know, is that the path? Is that the path that you need to take? Or is there, you know, are you ready for that? Are you ready for that scenario? Like, are they physically prepared like we're talking about? Are they playing with confidence? Are they playing with all these things? You know, like, are they ready for that next step? And that's where I feel there is a huge gap in Australia between that grassroots and the elite sports sector. And, you know, coaching is obviously very subjective from a professional team standpoint. You know, when a coach is selecting these players, they're looking at him going, oh, that kid can run quick. You know, he runs hard into the line. Great hand pass. He's always marking, getting up on the ball. You know, it's very subjective. Like, I've never seen a coach sit there in a grassroots sports club or even an elite sports club and go, if we just develop that kid, he could be something special, right? But in America, that they do that.
Yeah, there's little emphasis placed on the like I think you bring up a really important fact. If you think about amateur based, let's talk about juniors for a second, right?
Yeah.
Here's the gap, right? So this is a terrible drawing. I don't know if you guys can see this, right?
Yep.
That is amateur based sport, juniors. This is the highest level, right? Now, let's say a kid just comes up here, right, and misses out on that selection, right? Mm-hmm. Goes back down to his amateur-based junior sporting club. Well, the reason could be it might be technical, tactical, but the other reason might be physical. But a coach, they won't have the resources to develop them physically, to have the education to improve athlete performance, to get to that rep squad, which could compromise their future. So what you're bringing up, Brand, is a very important point where they're saying, well, how can we minimise the gap in terms from grassroots to the professional levels? And this is how you do it, is through educating on the benefit of what S&C is, so they can, I call it reaching their athletic ability, like athlete potential. A lot of athletes reach that, they don't reach it because they're not developed properly. And when they go back that level, there's no coaching whatsoever in terms of athlete development. So I think that's fantastic how you say you want to bridge the gap between grassroots to pro sport. There is a massive gap. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. So I'd love to see how you're going to progress your company over the next few years, because as you told me last week with Brett on your show, I think he is right when it said it's going to kick off the next 5 years. It will kick off. How big? I think it will be quite big because think about how many parents want their kids to play pro sport. Oh, my kid trains there. It will blow up. And I can't wait to see, because for me, it'll be like, how do I put it? It'll be
like when everyone says you can't do it and then you just achieve it.
Yeah. It'll be. Well, when I started, everyone said there's no market for it. And I said, fuck this, I'll just keep going with it. Regardless if you like me or not. Like, what? I'm 31 now, man. I'm too old. I don't really give a fuck what people think. You're either going to like me, you don't like me. It doesn't really matter. For me, I'm on this vision. I'm on this quest. When I started this, Brad, and I had this vision in my head of where I was going to go, but no, all these haters, all these people tall poppy just trying to knock me down. All I was trying to do was breach my dream. And I kept copping it and just kept moving forward. That's how winning's done. Take your hits and keep moving forward. And exactly. I think it was it's going to be bittersweet. Not bittersweet, it's just going to be sweet when the next 5 years, when it does blow up and everything I said was true, and all these people hate on me now kind of like follow me and they like my statuses and they like write to me. It's real weird. I don't know. It's always funny when someone's the first to really put themselves out there and you really cop abuse. And I was like, wow, all I'm trying to do is like, this is what I believe in. You might not see my vision. That's fine, but fuck. This is what I believe in. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be the guy. And I want to, through my vision, I've changed a lot of people's lives because people message me and it's fantastic here. And like hearing about your story and how you've started this, I think that's a byproduct of what I did 5 years ago. Not just me, but a lot of other people. But I think I was a big catalyst to push it on social media to the wider public. And to think that I have, my company and through my social media, we've created more jobs, more awareness is fantastic. So in the next 5 years, when it does happen, I've always said that I'm a big law of attraction guy. If you know what law of attraction, yeah. I'm a big visualizer, ask, believe, receive. I believe in it. In the next 5 years, when it does happen, I know it will happen. I'm just going to smile and be proud of it and know that fucking I was one of the catalysts and one of the helpers to help push this industry forward, create more jobs for people like you, and then fantastic, you can go out and do it. So I have a good smile on my face, mate, and I don't know what I'll do afterwards. I don't know. I'll probably still own Woodford, but I might back it off a little bit and I might stop. I'll always be the face of it, but I don't know. I might try something else. I've always wanted to get into politics. You might have a laugh, but I think I'd be good at politics.
This is an interesting thing, though, because I was even aligning with that vision. And I was like, I really want in the future, 10 to 15 years down the track, where the government actually funds programs for these, grassroots sport clubs, gets S&C's jobs into these, into these kind of clubs or even into these representative clubs and actually pays them, to develop, these guys, these athletes that no one knows yet. And that's what I want from a national standpoint. I think if you want to increase the standard of sport, we've got to increase the standard of pool of athletes that we can select from. We have to.
I'll give you an example. And I just came back from training with Ethan Wilson, shout out. He's ranked very high up in snowboard cross. He's only a young fella, 16. But I'll give you an example because I train a lot of kids who come through, Bailey Lewis, Jason Holmes, squash, so taekwondo, squash. I'll give you an example. When they're younger, there's no funding. So how can they get better? You just talked about this this exact example. So what happens is once they reach the top level, then the government give them funding. But by that stage, they don't need it. They've already reached the top. What the government need to start doing is giving it to the grassroots level, giving more money so they get proper development at a young age, because we're not like America where we have 300 million people. Exactly. We've only got a certain amount of people, athletes. So we need to maximise not only the technical, tactical development, better coaching, but the physical development. But what's happening is when they're younger, they don't have that physical development. They might get a serious injury and then they'll never reach their full potential because the issue is S&C in Australia is seen as non-existent, where physiotherapy, i.e. being reactive, not proactive, is seen as the norm. Another example is I trained an under 15 who made the Australian team of soccer. Jade Waring, shout out to him. I used to train his brother Pierce, who plays for Melbourne Victory. But I said to him, Jade, did you have an S&C coach? And he said, no, we had a physio. This is Australian under 15s, whatever it is, Joey's, not having an S&C coach. It's fucking mind-boggling. And he's saying to me, Woody, we just had a physio. Do you see what I'm saying? So by the stage they made it, they don't need it. And what they try and do, which annoys me, they try and take these kids off me. Yet I've worked with them for 5 years, and they say, well, you're going to go to our S&C coaches. And their parents say to them, well, Woody's worked with our kids since they were 14. Why would we change our structure? We don't need your money now. We've made it, which is always stupid. But the thing is, the government get paid on every medal they get. So regardless, they're always going to, most of the time, cave in the demands because they know this guy's going to win a medal, so they're going to get money.
Exactly.
It's a weird system, man. I don't understand it.
Well, sports turned into a marketing game. It's turned into a huge marketing game now in terms of, if you look at it, like I've seen it with a lot of these, especially, kids now, like they're all have the passion and drive and that dream to go far. Like I still do, like I want to use track and field as an example, right?
Oh, yeah.
Look at Australian track and field. We haven't had an Australian male or female, Sally Pearson, sorry, jokes that, Australian male athlete that has competed in the 100 metres across, in the last, like, fair few Olympics, since Patrick Johnson, right? Since Patrick Johnson. Shervington, that's back further. But since Patrick Johnson, like, when he competed, and he's the only one that's ever Australian that's running under 10 seconds.
Yeah, he ran 9,
he did an interview the other day. And he said, I can't believe no one's broken that yet in Australia. And I was like, and he said, we need to nurture our kids. We need to develop our kids because, like, if you think about it, you can't say we don't have fast kids. We do. We're just not developing those kids. They're leaving the sport and going to obviously like league and AFL and all these other
Brandon, where's the money in it? There's no money in it. Why would you as a kid want to put yourself through that shit? The fact that you get no money when you might get 300,000 as a football player, 100, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Why there's no want to do it. It's just a slog, and these kids are just leaving your sport because Athletes Australia can't. There's no real structure for payment. They can't help them out. These kids need financial backing, and they're not getting it. So they're like, well, I've been offered something at a junior level, and they said I've got the potential to play at this sport, which will get me this much. And there's no record. There's no real media on really kid like these athletes coming up, apart from that Jack Hale kid. Now, it's going to be interesting to see this kid's development because...
who's the other one that's down in Canberra at the moment? He qualified for the Olympics in 2016. His name is Josh Clark. He got...
But he was injured.
Yeah.
Hamstring. So, once again, you see what I'm saying, man? It's real funny in Australia. Now, you go to America, you say what you want about the Americans, man. They work hard. The system's unbelievable. It's just... They have a wider, like, they've got more people. I understand this. This is kind of, I always laugh when people say to me, it's never going to be like America. That we've got, how many million we've got, Brandon?
26, roughly, 27.
I thought 24, but 26 million. They've got 300, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
People bring up the per capita debate. Yes, I understand. Well, that makes it even more important to nurture our young talent so they can maximise their potential. So what we're doing is just throwing away already the good athletes. Like, I'll give you an example. In America, they'd have so many sub 10 guys. It's ridiculous, right? We've had one ever, right? Yet they can just be like, oh, well, we don't really need to nurture our kids because fucking the best will always make it. Yet they still develop them at a high level where we're, on the physical side, kind of throwing it away. And it's frustrating and Athletes Australia are losing the kids to field-based, court-based sports.
And look at college, right? Look at college. Like, they get scholarships from high school into track and field. Our universities obviously don't have any of that. Like, I remember I sat down, I spoke with the associate director of the University of Sydney. I said, do you guys get any funding for your sports programs? And they're like, we get zero. Like, zero. Like, and I'm just like, well, like, you think about it, all these guys want to go overseas to, Altus and some of these places in America and train with, like, Dan Paff and some of those, really, really big speed coaches and biomechanical coaches, because that's where they know that they're going to get better. So a lot of the guys want to go elsewhere, overseas, to basically get that development and then come back and then finish, and race and compete. Like, if Ella Nielsen, she was the 200-meter runner for in the 200 meter track and field, so she made the semi-finals. She's over there. So, she goes to, I'm pretty sure she goes to university over there too. So. But they offer scholarships, like, that's such a gold thing. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things I really think that there's a lot of like, our system here is our government doesn't really want to push sports as far as we can get them. They want crowds to come in and view it as a marketing thing, but they don't want to really go to the source of the problem, which is funding and developing athletes and really kind of bridging that gap.
Everything these days about marketing. Everything's about ROI, return on investment, which I understand from a business point of view. The money you need to put in, you want to see it come back. But it's all about marketing. It's how much money they can make, which fair enough. As I said, it's a business mind. But I think the government really need to step in and start putting in some sort of programs. Perfect example would be like obesity. Obesity is getting worse.
Yeah.
How the fuck can it be getting worse? Tell you why, is because A, lack of knowledge and education, and B, I don't know if you know this, but in Melbourne, I don't know about in Sydney, in primary schools, some of them have, if they don't have enough money, they've cut PE. Like they've cut a PE teacher. So you've got a maths teacher taking PE. Like, fuck. Are you serious? Like, no wonder we've got an obesity problem when we've got a maths teacher taking PE. PE should be a staple. A staple. Yeah. And we're talking about obesity. And they're throwing all this money at it. Actually, probably not throwing enough, but they are throwing money at it, but it's not getting better. But at the end of the day, it does come down to the individual, the kid, but the parents, like it's got to come from the parents. You've got to control what's the kids put in their mouth, because I know we're going off topic here because I could go on a lot of topics, but that's a big one as well, like obesity as well. Yet we know everything we need to know. We've done every fucking study in the world on it, and yet still we are getting fatter, we're getting obese. So
exactly.
At the end of the day, you've got to take responsibility for yourself and what you put in your mouth. I understand that, but I think it's a knowledge and educational thing, and we need to start looking at one, junior athletes, and two, an educational program. Regardless if it's just general health and fitness, you need to start educating it at a grassroots junior school level, which is a big one.
Yeah, I'd like to really see some of those other guys in the elite sector, like your David Joyces and your Ian McEwens and all these guys really coming out and creating projects of a junior development and really kind of thinking about that as well. And because I think that a lot of them are in that elite sector right now. They're very in their bubble at the moment. They're not really wanting to – they're doing all these conferences and educating coaches and everything, which is fantastic. But I really feel like they don't want to explore and go, into the source of the problem. I think with those guys, you brought up two guys I respect. Yeah, they're really good coaches, man. They're amazing.
Yeah, two guys who I talked to, Joycey, and I had Joycey on a podcast of mine, and Ian, who I've been trying to get on, been having a chat to him. I think more pro sports, like as I said, I've only seen the collegiate sector, and obviously my internship at the VS, so I've kind of seen exposed to that stuff. Like that was never for me. Like if I was ever going to work, I don't know much about pro sport, but I work in the collegiate system. But pro sport's a different beast. Like the private sector's a different beast as well. So I respect if you work pro sport. I respect if you work private sector. A lot of people out there, young kids come through, they're like, oh, no, I'm too good to work for the private sector. I want to work for pro sports. Like, pull your head out of your ass. You're not that fucking good, mate. Like, and a lot of the time in pro sport in Australia especially, it's not what you know, it's who you know. It's all about networking. Exactly. Not saying if you work pro sport, you know good, because there's a lot of very good people in pro sport. But like anything in life, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But you've got to understand there's pros and cons to any industry you work. Do I think that some guys should be doing better? Yeah, but at the end of the day, pro sport is stressful. So most of the time they've got no time to do it. So that's my job, Brandon. My job is I've built this profile. My job, I'm at this stage now where I need to keep going on with this and keep pushing what I do. So, I need, that's what I was born and put on this planet to do, is to educate people in the private sector. And that's what I'm going to keep doing for everyone and keep leading the way. So private sports, pro sport, private sector, private sector. Just as I said before, going back to you have to always have the reason why you want to do it. Like your why is junior athlete development. My why is I wanted to train amateur, weekend warriors, sub-elite, elite athletes in my private facility. Like America have a private sector. Like your Joe DeFranco's, Mike Boyd, Eric Cressy. That's what I wanted to do, and that's what I want to create for Australia.
It's fantastic, mate. Like I think it's where you look at a lot of the interns that will come into your system. I'm pretty sure that's one of the KPIs, the things that you look for in selecting your intern is you look at their why, and that's their overall kind of that's like their determinator. That's probably your number one determinator if you're going to take them on with you. If you see their why, because I think that's where you can really go, okay, I see their why. I know that I can educate them and they're going to use everything that I'm going to take.
No, you're right. I asked the why. Of course we asked the why. What's the reason why you're doing this? But I think the big thing for me, I love the fact that coaches come, like young, aspiring performance coaches or trainers, regardless. They come to me, and then we have such an impact where I hear stuff like, we because of the internship they did at Woodford, or the short course, the workshop that we do, or the DVD they bought, that we've inspired them for higher learning. That I had a kid come up to me at my Noosa workshop, and he said to me, because of you, I went to uni, or and I had another kid saying, because of you, I applied for this job over in the States, this internship, or interned over here. That's the stuff that really I really enjoy hearing, because that means I've really made an impact on their life, and that's what I've done this for. Or to hear that I took a chance because you gave me the drive and the passion to give this career shot and train athletes, and I started this business in the private sector because of you. And that's the stuff that that makes me want to do this and keep going. Is I hear these emails, not from Australia, from it's real weird to hear 5 years in people from all around the world, like the UK, the US. Like the DVD sold in the 7 countries. Like to hear that shit, bro, it's like incredible, because like I still think when I first started this 5 years ago, and now we're here and you're hearing shit like people talking about me over in the US or the UK. It's like fantastic. Like I'd hate to think where I'm going to be in 5 years. Not hate, but love to think where this is in 5 years for everyone. So I think the biggest thing is to hear Woodford as a stepping stone towards whatever their goal is. And I always say to them, whatever your goal is, I don't give a shit. If you want to train Mary, who's 60 years old, or you want to go pro sport, private sector, or train junior athletes, or become the rehab guy, I don't give a shit. Just do it with love, do it with passion, do it with care, and become that person, live it day in, day out. And if Woodford's a stepping stone, like it has been for a lot of coaches gone, like we've had so many coaches go and do some fantastic things, be it pro sport, be it private sector, be it collegiate sector, whatever it is, I'm really proud of our guys who have moved on and they've used Woodford, because they wouldn't have had it without Woodford. And I think it's fantastic. Yeah,
it's great, mate. And I look at in the next step, and let's look at coaching the champion athlete here. It's the topic, and I think this is where we're coming back to. If you're looking at some of your AFL guys and Shandor, and let's say for Shandor, how did he train for you for about 16 months? Roughly around probably 16, 17 months.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I look at now in terms of like cross-patency that you can see across all athletes is when they don't want to train. How do you, in terms of motivate them to train, or how do they motivate themselves to train on the days they don't want to?
I think the biggest thing is understanding them inside and out, getting to know them as people first. I think half this job is about relationship building and communication. So a lot of kids come out of uni and they think it's all about the X's and O's, the sets and the reps, when in reality it's about getting to know your athlete inside out, what makes them tick, what cues you need to use to get the best out of them. Like if they're feeling flat or low, you need to auto-regulate based on how they feel during the session, so they feel good, ramp them up. If they don't feel good, like what you said, well, you have to find out the reason why. So it might be the fact that they had a fight with their missus or their parents or their job. They might have issue with their job, or they might just be feeling flat in general. So that's where you kind of have to talk to them about, well, how can we manipulate this session to get them to adhere to it? The biggest principle for me is adherence and consistency, because you're going to have the best program in the world, but if the athlete doesn't buy into it, adhere to it, or not consistent, it's not going to work. So it just kind of communicating with them, well, what do you want to do today? How can I get my goals out of what the program is? Like, what goals do I have for this week? What do I need to hit? And how can I get them to buy into what I'm going to do today to facilitate the change that I need? So it's not just going, well, this is the only way of doing things, and kind of just having like picking your battles. You just got to pick your battles sometimes and find out what works and what doesn't work. And that comes down to only experience. Experience is the biggest thing in my opinion. I used to think it was all about knowledge. Knowledge is important, but when you do this long enough, you realize experience is so important. You find what works, what doesn't work in the real world, which is the biggest thing, because it's great to do it at uni. We all know we like uni, but uni is like perfect case scenario. Trust me, when you're in the real world, nothing is perfect case scenario. It's something will screw up, and you got to kind of you'll have your session written down and what your goals are of the session, and then you have to manipulate it based on how they feel during that exact moment. So it's just kind of finding out what makes them tick and getting to know them as a person before an athlete.
Yeah, and if you look at Shandor, like right now, in terms of he's got that contract, he's put in all that effort over that long period of time, and it's just that consistency, like you're talking about. For him, like what was his motivation to just get to the NRL, or was it to basically get back to them and be like, I've been done wrong, and I want to prove something to everyone? What was his biggest thing when he came to you? Or did you source him out? One of the two.
I think that I didn't source him out. I know. I'll just I had no idea about who he was. I don't really follow NRL. I don't follow. Yeah, I just follow AFL because that's my sport.
Yeah.
So I kept getting messages from this guy called Shandor, and I asked my friend who works for the Sydney Roosters, who's the strength coach there, Paddy Lane. I said, mate, who the hell is this Shandor guy? First of all, he wanted online programming, which, as you know, Brandon, we do online program, Woodford Online, which you you get coached by Brent. Is it Brent?
Yeah, Brent. Mr. Brent.
Yeah, Brent. He was a sprinter with himself, so he was quick. But he kept messaging me, and he kept liking all my posts. I know he's going to say this is bullshit, but this is true. And then I left it, and he didn't do it. I was real pissed. I'm like, oh, whatever, it doesn't really matter. I didn't even know who he was. And I found out he's like this some guy who got done because of Stephen Dank, and I know Stephen Dank through Essendon. And apparently he was at the Panthers or whatever club that he was at, and he got done, unfortunately. And it was kind of bullshit. He was like the scapegoat.
Yeah.
So then I got this message saying he's moving to Melbourne. Can I have a meeting with you? So I had a meeting with him, and then I said, listen, man, can you tell me the story? So we had like a 45 hour and a half talk, and he told me everything about what happened. As I said, I didn't know who he was. He's just this big unit with tats everywhere. Hey, mate, how you going? That's how he talks, you know. He was like a typical football player. He's articulate, but when I first met him, you know, hey, brah, how you going, brah? You know, that's how they all talk, I guess. I'm kind of generalising now, aren't I? But you know, he's a ripper bloke, and we sat down and we had a chat. We clicked like that, and he told me his whole story, and I said, well, what the fuck do you want? Like, what do you want? What are you hiring me for? And he said, I want to come back to the NRL, bigger, stronger, faster. I'm coming back to dominate. That's what I want. And I'm telling you right now, man, if I know anything about people and mindset, because I do have a strong mindset when I want something, that guy will come back and reach every single one of his goals. He will represent New South Wales. That's his boyhood dream. He'll come back and dominate for the Storm. I promise you, I've seen guys, I see it in his eyes. I saw it every fucking training session for 15, 16 months, brother. I saw how much he adhered to a program, how anal he was to his program, how good he was. I saw it every day, man. That guy's a star. That guy he wants to right his wrongs. He wants to come back on, and he wants to finish on his terms. And if anyone's watching, you're a Storm fan or an NRL fan in general, mark my words on this podcast right now. He'll come back. He'll dominate. He'll reach his goals, and get ready next year, guys, because he's coming back with a bang.
For sure. No, it's going to be tough competition with, you know, like a couple of wingers there that he's at Okara and Vunivalu. Yeah. These guys that are big, real good players too. So it's going to be real tough for him to get.
I couldn't give. I've got no idea about these blokes. I don't watch the game, as I said, but all I know is I always say control what you can control, and all he can control is A, his work ethic, and B, effort he puts in. If I know Shandor, I know him quite well now, is he will give 100% effort. He'll put himself in the best possible chance, and the rest is up to what we call fate, my friend.
Good old luck.
If it happen, and let's say something happens to whatever, and he gets one shot, he will take it. And you only need one shot in life. You take that chance, you take the opportunity when the door's ajar, a little bit ajar, he'll take it, he'll give it a crack. And I know through his preparation how he acts and how he is as a person, and he's just general arrogance in himself, which he'll laugh at me saying that, but he's a quite arrogant person deep down. If you watch the videos of him in the deadlift, we
saw that,
to each other. Yeah, a bit funny. So he's a very confident person. He's not as confident as me outspokenly, but inside he's very driven like me, and he's a fantastic person. He was done wrong. He'll come back and give it a real good shot. So it's funny. People always ask me about him. Like I seem to get a lot of messages about him. I've done 3 podcasts now, literally through him. Me training him. They just want to know stories about it. It's always funny, but I don't know, like NRL.
Because everyone follows NRL, especially in Sydney, and they're all looking at it and they see him and they know his story and what happened. You know, like they.
It's pretty cool that people want to hear about. Like for me, it's just a normal bloke. Like it's just
Well, Craig Bellamy gave him a chance. You know, he's always given a lot of players second chances, and you know, and he's turning them into absolute superstars. So, you know, what better coach to have take under his wing and basically go, here you go.
I think
second chance.
Oh yeah, I think he really likes Bellamy's obviously a star, man. He's won how many premierships? And, so he's obviously knows what he's doing. Storm's got a great culture. It's outside the fish bubble of Sydney. So I've only watched one game, and it was Rabbitohs versus South, the the rivalry.
Melbourne versus Rabbitohs, yeah.
Yeah, it was the most horrendous game. I didn't understand the rules. So when he plays his first game, all the boys will be down there. We'll be supporting the big dog, and I honestly can't wait to see him. So shout out to him. I think he's I've actually he's obviously training now. They actually do this when all the first players that come to the club have to do 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Doing labouring for the first 2 weeks, and they have to train afterwards. So it's like to teach them the benefit of how important it is to play at the NRL. So he's got I don't see him anymore. Like in terms of I'm not training him anymore. Yep. Storm have got him. We still message each other. He literally just rags on me about everything, just gives me shit. So I always enjoy it, and he's still always been part of Woodford. He'll come back every off season. Hopefully bring some players with him like Addo. I want to see that. I heard this Addo Carr guy's a freak.
He's quick, man. He's quick.
I've heard. I want him to bring Addo Carr. So I just want to see. I love training the quick guys. I love training strength power guys. So I'd love him to bring some guys down, which he said he would. So it'll be good to see next off season, see how he's going, and catch up with him like I normally do.
Yeah, great, mate. And let's look at the next party, which I believe this is probably an exciting time. I don't think you've touched too much on it, but is the expansion to your Sydneys and your Brisbane and all these kind of things. I think that's where you're going to really hit home towards your vision and where you want Woodford to go. Where's that stage at?
I think that my thing is with that is.
It's a hard one, right? It's a very hard one.
Expansion's good. I mean, it is good. You need capital. You need investors. You need the right people. And I'll be completely honest with you, we have not always been the best at choosing the right people. I've made a lot of mistakes in business. As I said, when Dad was here before, he's been a good supporter of me. He wanted to get involved. Doing something with your dad, something I can't explain. It's a real weird thing to work with your father. I think it's fantastic. I love it, but I hate it some days because he is my dad and he'll say things that I don't like because I don't want yes people around me, but he'll say it because he actually loves me. You need some hard truths sometimes, Brandon. But expansion is something that if the right person came around with enough capital and I got to know them, I knew they were A, good people, and B, they wanted to really have a career in this. Yeah, I'd consider it. If this does kick off in 5 years and it does expand, we'd have a look at it. But I don't rush into things anymore. I take my time. I'll be very methodical about it. I'll do my research. I'll have to know the person inside and out. And the best way I get to know them is probably have a drink with them, go out with them. That's how I get to know someone. You ask anyone, that's how I like to go out with them. I like to get to know them as a person. If they're my type of bloke, they're my type of bloke. Yeah, we'll do it. But you just got to get to know someone. Saying that, though, you can know someone for 10 years and not really know them. So sometimes you just got to let your gut, you got to lead with your gut. I don't really like these days. Because we've been burnt a few times, I know what to look for in people who talk shit. But that's anything in business. Like if you know anything about business, you're going to get some good deals, some bad deals. Such is life. You lose a bit of money, make a bit of money. At the end of the day, if you enjoy what you're doing, you enjoy what you're doing. So it's good to see kids like you really being passionate in the private sector. That's what I like to see. So fantastic to see that you started your company, Brandon Jones Performance. Am I correct in saying that?
Correct, mate. Yep.
I'm going to have a look at this, man. That's why I'll write everything down to have a look. So it's really good to see that people, younger kids are coming through and actually using their degree other than doing, I'll be a PE teacher, I'll do chiro, physio, osteo. Like, fucking use your degree. If you're going to do a 3-year degree in $30,000 worth of $20,000 worth of hex, shouldn't you fucking use it? Anyway, I always have a laugh at that. I'm like, you do. How many kids go 3 years undergrad, then they do a master's, and they don't use it? They're like they're working in sales, and it's like, are you kidding yourself? You've just got a $50,000 hex bill, and you're working in sales. At least have the fucking balls to give your career a shot. Oh, there's no jobs. Well, fucking. I just threw my pen there, but there's no. I started from nothing. Like there was no market. I just had to throw myself out there. Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can happen, you fail. You learn something about yourself. You have balls to do it. Like, I always have a laugh at that. Oh, but I'm worried about what people think. Fuck what anyone thinks about you. Who cares? People probably thinking I'm an absolute Fruit Loop psycho on your podcast. I don't care. I just say it how it is. If you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, I don't really care. I know who I am. I know where I'm going. And I know what I'm trying to do. You're either with it, you're not. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to achieve it with or without you. I'd rather you with me because I think it's awesome when I get people with me who say, shit, I'm with this guy. Let's make this happen. If you're not, well, fucking keep being a hater like the rest of them, or keep being someone who's real, like, don't be a jealous oh, shit. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I felt that. Keep being, like, being a jealous person never helps. Like, I used to be like that. You know, I'll tell you what, when I was 21, I used to be an idiot because I still am a little bit of an idiot, but I used to, like, always be like, that's never going to work. Like, being that negative person. The minute I read The Secret a few years back and I started visualizing my shit and being positive and surrounding myself with positive people, I know this is a different topic, but you know, stop being a negative person. Start being positive. If your friend wants to open up a business in stamp collecting, support them. If your friend wants to do something outside the norm, support them. We live in a time now where it's fantastic. You can do anything. You know, social media is fantastic. I started a business of it. You know, support people. Don't be a hater. Don't bring people down and hang around. If you hang around people like that, fuck them off and be people who are going to build you up, not bring you down, man. That's all I'm going to say about the topic. Because the minute I started stop being a negative person, when I was 21, I started listening to that shit. Oh, there's no jobs in sports science. The minute I said, well, why not? Why can't we have a career like anyone else? We're educated. Why can't someone go on social media in the private sector and be like a Joe DeFranco, Eric Cressy, Mike Boyle, and change the industry? And that's what I did.
Yeah.
I'm still going, though.
Yeah,
I can never stop. You can always learn more. I'm always learning. I don't know everything. I'm not a guru. This is just what works for me. And that's my story. Now, something might work for you, Brandon. I don't know. You might get a little bit. You might like that. Take away what you can and make your own brand. You know, for me, that's what I did. But my way is not the only way. I'm not fucking arrogant enough to say, this is the only way of doing it. There's many ways to skin a cat. This is what works for me. This is what I do for my athletes. If you don't like it, I don't give a fuck. That's fine. Try something that works then. Well, if you think you can do a better job than what I'm doing, do it. Do what I've done then. Instead, just stop. Don't sit there and be a negative person. Be a positive and try and do something better for the industry. That, especially kids your age, man, like 22, 23-year-olds, exercise science students, got a master's degree, and they think they know it all. Oh, fucking, I'm too good to do that because I don't want to train the general public because I'm too good. Well, fucking, I did that. I did that for 7-8 years. You know, I worked at a general train gym, woke up at 5:30, went till 10 a.m., busted my ass, went to uni, then came back at 5 p.m., worked till 9 p.m. It's shit house, but you have to do it for low pay. I remember my first client was like $30. You got to do it. Pay your dues. Earn your right. Did I just carry on there, mate? Sorry.
That's okay, mate. That's all right. But no, it's definitely a good point in there. And I'll finish off with this last question is, as an athlete myself and you as a coach, this is where I ask right now is saying, okay, I have that goal of breaking that 10-second barrier. Right, it's one of the probably going to be the hardest thing that I'll have to probably take me 10 years to do, but I'm committed enough to doing. What advice can you give me as an athlete, where you've obviously known right now, what the strength levels are, what the other things are, how fast I am, and how new I am to that sport? What's your advice?
For you,
with like a raw, basic kind of like speed, potential, and strength.
You've got to work out if you really want to do this, number one, because my thing is when you half-heart anything, regardless whatever career, is if you half-heart it, you're never going to maximize your potential in that sport. That's the first thing. If you're going to do it, throw your heart, your passion, everything, 100% effort into that one goal. Don't put your toe in, put your whole foot in, put your face in, put everything, 100% commitment, number one. Number two is stay consistent. Number three, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. So enjoy the journey. And number four, get yourself two very good coaches. Number one, a skills coach, a technique coach, and number two, a performance coach who can educate you on the athlete development side, your mobility, your glute work, your strength work, your power work, your plyometry, blah, 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 blah. Two vital coaches in your career. That's the most important thing. And just enjoy the journey. You know, there's going to be ups, there's going to be downs. Success is not linear. Take your heartaches, take your knockbacks, grow yourself bigger, enjoy the process. And in 10 years' time, when you break the barrier, thank me when I gave you that advice.
Thank you, mate. Thank you very much. So this is Christian, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'll link your social media profiling all on the YouTube as well, in the Facebook page as well.
Could I just say something before I leave? Thank you for having me on this show. I'm sorry I cut you off so many times. I'm just so used to it.
That's right.
But I just want to say that kids like Brandon, when I say kids, younger coaches like Brandon who are putting themselves out there need to be respected. It's not easy to do, Brandon, as I'm sure you know. When I first started doing that, it is hard. So let's give him some respect. Give his page a like. Give him a share. You don't have to share my video if you don't like me. That's fine. I don't care. Share another one of his podcasts, but just get around. If always support people in this industry who want to do better. So that's all I want to say. If you want to check me out, Brandon, as you said, just link me to all my social media.
Perfect, mate. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.